My husband's grandmother called me on a Saturday morning in March. Her name is Hazel. She is 93 years old and lives in Savannah with her daughter. My husband's name is Sebastian. He is 37 years old. Hazel said, "This is Hazel Tompkins, and I am calling you directly because I have something to say that is for you and not for the family." She said, "I am 93 years old, and I have been watching the family for most of those 93 years." She said, "I have been watching you since you came into the family 2 years ago." She said, "I made my decision about you in the first year." She said, "I want to tell you what I decided and why." She said, "I want you to know you were chosen deliberately." She said, "The deliberate choice deserves the knowing." She said, "I do not have as many years ahead as I have behind me." She said, "I decided this morning that the telling was more important than the waiting for a better occasion." I want to say something about the form of the receiving a call from a 93-year-old who had called to tell me I had been chosen deliberately and about what the form had produced. My husband had been in the backyard with the Saturday yard work. I had been in the kitchen. The call had arrived in the form that the 93-year-old's calls take. The specific quality of the person who is in the form of the person who has made a decision and who is acting on the decision before another opportunity is lost. Hazel had made the decision in the first year. She had been carrying the decision for a year. She had called on the Saturday because the carrying had arrived at the form for the giving. She had said, "I want to tell you 3 specific things I observed in the first 2 years." She had said, "The 3 specific things are the 3 reasons for the choosing." She had said, "I want to give you the reasons because the choosing is worth the giving of the reasons." I had said, "Yes." She had said, "Good. I am a marine ecologist. I have been working for 5 years at a coastal ecology laboratory in Charleston, South Carolina, where I study the seagrass meadow ecosystems of the South Carolina coastal zone. The specific work of understanding how the seagrass meadows function as the foundation of the coastal ecosystem, how they produce the oxygen and the organic matter that supports the fish and the invertebrates and the waterfowl, how the loss of the seagrass meadow produces the specific form of the ecosystem collapse. My work requires the specific attention to the foundation form, the seagrass meadow that is below the surface of the water, invisible from the boat, producing the conditions that the visible ecosystem above depends on. I had been doing this work for 5 years. The Hazel call had arrived in me in the professional language. Hazel had been the meadow observer, the specific form of the person who sees the foundation form below the surface and who reads the conditions from the below surface form. She had watched me for 2 years in the form of the meadow scientist, attending to the below surface form to understand the health of the ecosystem above. I want to say something about Hazel and about who she had been in the form I had known her across the 2 years of the marriage and the year before that, and about what the Saturday call had given me for the fuller picture. She had been in the form I had known her, the specific form of the 93-year-old who was the center of the family in the gravity form rather than the activity form. Not the center because she was the loudest or the most directive. The center because the family organized around her in the specific way that the family organizes around the person whose form has been the most consistent and the most real across the longest time. She had been at every family occasion in the observing form, the specific form of the person who is present and attending and who does not require the conversation to produce the attending. She had been in the observing form. I had known she was watching. I had not known the watching had been the deliberate choosing form. The Saturday call had told me the watching had been the deliberate choosing form. Both had been real simultaneously. The observing form and the choosing form had been the same form. Both had been Hazel. Before I go on, if something in this story is landing close to something real in your life, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely feel it. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. My name is Adaeze. I am 34 years old. I'm a marine ecologist in Charleston, South Carolina. And this is the story of the Saturday morning call and the 3 specific things Hazel had observed in the form of the choosing and what I had understood about the choosing and what the years since the Saturday call has been building. I want to say something about the first of the 3 specific things Hazel had described and about the form the first thing had taken. She had said, "I want to give you the 3 specific things in the order I observed them." She had said, The first thing was at the Thanksgiving in the first year of the relationship, before you were married. She had said. My husband had been at the table. She had been quiet. She had said. My husband died 8 months after that Thanksgiving. She had said. I want to tell you about my husband at the Thanksgiving. She had said. My husband had told the story of the Korean War at Thanksgiving for 42 years. She had said. I have watched the family receive that story for 42 years. She had said. The story is 42 years old, and it has been at the Thanksgiving table for 42 years. She had said. The family receives the story in the form that the 42-year-old story produces in the family, the received before form. She had said. The received before form is the form in which you know the story, and your receiving is the managing form, rather than the full receiving form. She had been quiet. She had said, I watched you at that Thanksgiving. She had said, you received the story in the full receiving form. She had said, not the received before form. She had said, the full receiving form. She had said, I watched you receive the 42-year-old story as if you were receiving it for the first time. She had been quiet. She had said, I have been watching that story at Thanksgiving for 42 years. She had said, I had not seen that form before. I want to say something about the marine ecology parallel and about the seagrass meadow and what the seagrass meadow had given me for understanding what Hazel had been doing across the 2 years. In marine ecology, the seagrass meadow is the foundation form of the coastal ecosystem, the specific form of the underwater plant community that produces the oxygen and the structural habitat and the organic matter that the fish and the invertebrates and the waterfowl depend on. The seagrass meadow is invisible from the surface. You have to go below to see it. The seagrass meadow is also the early indicator. The health of the seagrass meadow tells you about the quality of the water and the conditions of the full ecosystem. Seagrass meadows begin to decline before the decline is visible at the surface. Hazel had been reading me in the seagrass meadow form, attending to the below surface indicators, the specific things that the person does in the unguarded form, to read the health of the form below. The full receiving form at Thanksgiving had been a below surface indicator. The choosing had been the reading of the indicators. I want to say something about the second specific thing Hazel had described and about the form the second thing had taken. She had said, the second specific thing was at my 91st birthday party. She had said, I was 91 2 years ago. She had said, the birthday party was the family gathering form in the summer. She had said, I want to tell you what I had mentioned at Christmas the previous year. She had said, at Christmas I had mentioned to one of my daughters that I had old photographs in several different forms, some in the album, some in boxes, some in the loose form. She had said, I wish I had them organized. She had said, I had said it once at Christmas to my daughter. She had said, I had not asked anyone to organize them. She had been quiet. She had said, at my 91st birthday party, 6 months later, you gave me a photograph album. She had said, the album contained the organized photographs, the specific form that I had wished for in the specific way I had described. She had said, the photographs were organized by year and by event, and in the specific form that I had described at Christmas. She had said, you had not been present at the Christmas conversation. She had said, you had received the account from my daughter secondhand at some point. She had said, you had remembered it and had made the album in the form I had described. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you what the album gave me. She had said, the album gave me the form of the being heard in the specific form across the 6 months. I want to say something about the marine ecology research I had been doing in the spring of the Hazel call year and about what the research had been in conversation with the Saturday. I had been working on the seagrass density mapping of the North Inlet estuary, the specific form of the marine ecology research that uses the underwater video transects to document the distribution and the density of the seagrass meadow across the estuary. The mapping had been producing the specific findings. The seagrass density had been highest in the specific zones where the water clarity was the best. The specific zones where the light penetrated most fully to the bottom. The light penetration had been the condition that allowed the highest seagrass density. The highest density seagrass meadow had been in the clearest water. I had been mapping the clarity and density relationship with the Hazel call in the background. Both had been the reading of the below-surface form to understand the health of the ecosystem. The water clarity and the Hazel observation had both been the form of the reading the below-surface conditions to understand what the foundation form was doing. The clearest water and the specific attending had both been the conditions that produced the highest form. I want to say something about the third specific thing Hazel had described, and about the form the third thing had taken. She had said, "The third thing is the most specific form." She had said, "The third thing was a conversation we had at the Christmas 2 years ago, the first Christmas of the marriage." She had said, "I want to tell you what you said." She had said, "The family had been in the gathering form and I had stepped out to the porch for a moment." She had said, "You had come to the porch and had sat beside me." She had said, "We had been in the quiet form for a moment." She had said, "I do not like the loud form of the gathering." She had said, "I had said it as an admission rather than a complaint." She had said, "I had not expected a response." She had been quiet. She had said, "You had said, I know." She had said, "You had said." "I noticed in the first hour that you find the quieter form when the loud form has been going for too long." She had said, "You had said, the porch is the form that the gathering needs to have." She had been quiet. She had said, "I want to tell you what your saying produced in me." She had said, "Your saying produced the form of the being seen in the specific form." She had said, "I had not known I had been noticed." She had said, "You had noticed." She had been quiet. She had said, "The being seen in the specific form is the form I had given to the family across 93 years. She had said, "You had given it back to me." I had said, "Yes." She had said, "Yes." I want to say something about the marine ecology concept of the indicator species, and what the indicator species had given me for understanding what the three specific things had been for Hazel. In marine ecology, the indicator species is the specific species whose presence or absence or condition tells you about the health of the broader ecosystem. The seagrass density is the indicator of the water quality. The specific invertebrate communities are the indicators of the sediment health. The indicator species is the specific form that reveals the condition of the whole. The three specific things Hazel had described had been the indicator species observations. Each had been a below-surface observation that revealed the condition of the form below. The full receiving of the story had been the indicator of the specific attending form, the not managing form, the form that receives the person in the form they are in. The photograph album had been the indicator of the specific remembering, the giving the form the person had described, the attending across the months. The porch conversation had been the indicator of the being seen in the specific form as the form of the care. Each indicator had told Hazel the same thing. The form below the surface was the form the family needed. She had read the indicators. She had made the choice. I want to say something about what had happened when I had told Sebastian about the Hazel call and about the form of the receiving. He had come in from the yard in the form of the person who had been doing the yard work and who was receiving the form of the kitchen in that specific form. I had said, "I need to tell you something." He had been immediately in the full attention form. I had told him the three things: the full receiving of the grandfather's story, the photograph album, the porch conversation. He had been very quiet for a long time. He had said, "She told you she chose you." I had said, "Yes." He had been quiet. He had said, "I want to tell you something about my grandmother and about the form the choosing takes in her." He had said, "She does not give the form of the choosing to many people." He had said, "I have been in the family for 37 years." He had said, "She has chosen deliberately in the specific way she described to you twice before in my memory." He had said, "Once she chose my father when he came into the family." He had said, "Once she chose my aunt's husband." He had been quiet. He had said, "She chose you." He had said, "The choosing was not the general form." He had said, "The choosing was the specific three reasons form." He had been quiet. He had said, "I want to tell you what the specific reasons form of the choosing means." He had said, the specific reasons form means, she saw you. I had said, yes. He had said, yes, she had seen. The seeing was real. I want to say something about the marine ecology concept of the ecosystem services and what the ecosystem services had given me for understanding the form of the being seen and what Hazel had given me. In marine ecology, the ecosystem services are the benefits that the healthy ecosystem provides to the human community. The seagrass meadow provides the nursery habitat, the water filtration, the storm protection, the oxygen production, the specific forms of the benefit that the healthy foundation provides to the community above. The ecosystem services are not the ecosystem itself. The ecosystem services are what the ecosystem does for the community by being in its healthy form. Being seen in the specific form is the ecosystem service form of the human relationship, the specific benefit that the person who sees you in the specific form provides to the person being seen. The specific seeing is not the relationship. The specific seeing is what the relationship does for the person when the relationship is in its healthy form. Hazel had given me the ecosystem service of the specific seeing. The specific seeing had been the benefit of the healthy relationship form. The healthy relationship form had been the choosing. The choosing had produced the benefit. The benefit had been good. I want to say something about calling Hazel back the week after the Saturday and about what she had said when I had called. I had called on the Thursday. She had answered in the form that she always answered, the second ring, the direct hello. I had said, I want to thank you for the Saturday call. She had been quiet. She had said, I do not need the thanks. She had said, I need you to know that the choosing was real. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you something about the form of the choosing and why it is important to give. She had said, the family is the form that produces the being seen form across the generations, or it is the form that does not. She had said, the family that does not produce the being seen form across the generations loses the form. She had said, the form is the specific attending to the specific person. She had said, the form is what I have been trying to give to the family for 93 years. She had been quiet. She had said, I have not always succeeded. She had said, the form requires the specific attending and not everyone in the family has the form. She had been quiet. She had said, I called you because you have the form. She had said, the family needs the form for the next generation. She had been quiet. She had said, you are the next generation that has the form. She had been quiet. She had said, I wanted you to know that the form is needed and you have it. I had said, yes. She had said, yes, the form was needed. I had it. The having was good. I want to say something about what Sebastian had said about Hazel and about the form she had been in for the full time he had known her. He had said, I want to tell you something about my grandmother and the form she has been in for as long as I can remember. He had said, the form she has been in is the specific seeing form. He had said, she sees the specific person in the specific form they are in. He had said, she has been doing this for 93 years. He had said, I want to tell you the specific moment I understood she was in the specific seeing form. He had said, I was 14 years old. He had said, she had come to watch my track meet. He had said, after the meet she had said, I want to tell you something about the form you were in at the start. He had said, not the form at the finish, the form at the start. He had said, she had described the specific form of the 14-year-old standing at the start before the race. She had described the specific quality of the waiting form, the form I had been in before the start signal. He had been quiet. He had said, no one had ever described that form to me. He had said, she had described the specific form I had not known was visible. He had been quiet. He had said, she gives the specific seeing to the family. He had been quiet. He had said, she saw that you also give the specific seeing. I had said, yes. He had said, yes. The specific seeing was hers and mine. Both were real. I want to say something about the seagrass meadow research and about a specific day on the water in April that had been most in conversation with the Hazel call year. I had been on the research vessel in the North Inlet with the underwater camera system for the Seagrass Transect survey. The day had been the specific form of the low tide survey, the shallow water and the good water clarity, and the specific quality of the April coastal South Carolina day. The camera had been showing the seagrass meadow below the boat, the specific form of the healthy halodule and rapia meadow in the North Inlet substrate. The meadow had been in the healthy form, the high density, the intact leaf canopy, the specific invertebrate community visible in the video. I had been reading the healthy meadow indicators from the camera display with the Hazel call in the background. Both had been the reading of the below-surface health indicators. The healthy seagrass indicators and the 3 specific Hazel observations had both been the below-surface form, telling me about the health of the form above. The below-surface form had been in good health. The above-surface form had been in good health. Both had been good. The April day had been good. I want to say something about the visit to Savannah in June and about the form of the first visit after the Saturday call. We had driven to Savannah in June for the summer family gathering. Hazel had been at her daughter's house in the established form. I had been in the form of the person who had received the Saturday call and who was now in the in-person form for the first time since the choosing had been given in the verbal form. Hazel had been in the yard in the shade. I had gone to her in the form that the Saturday call had produced in me, the form of the person who has received the choosing and who is now in the form of the person who was chosen. Both had been in the yard in the shade. She had said, "I want to ask you something." I had said, "Ask." She had said, "What was the most significant thing I gave you in the Saturday call?" I had been quiet. I had said, "The form of the being known in the specific form." She had been quiet. She had said, "Yes." She had been quiet. She had said, "That is the specific form I have been giving for 93 years. She had been quiet. She had said, "I am glad you know the form has a name." She had been quiet. She had said, "The name is being known in the specific form." She had been quiet. She had said, "Give it to the family." I had said, "Yes." She had said, "Yes." The giving was mine to do. The form was good. I want to say something about the most significant thing Hazel had said near the end of the Saturday call and about what the ending had been. She had said, "I want to tell you something about why I called specifically to tell you that the choosing was deliberate." She had said, "The choosing in the family form is often given without the knowing that it is given." She had said, "The family receives the new person, and the receiving is often the general form, the warm welcome form, the occasion form, the form that does not distinguish between the formal acceptance and the deliberate choosing." She had said, "I wanted you to know the difference between the formal acceptance and the deliberate choosing." She had said, "The deliberate choosing is the form in which the specific person is seen in the specific form and found to be the form the family needs." She had said, "The formal acceptance is the form in which the family performs the welcoming without the specific seeing." She had been quiet. She had said, "I chose you in the deliberate form." She had said, "I saw the specific form." She had said, "I found the specific form to be the form the family needs." She had been quiet. She had said, "You deserve to know the difference." She had said, "Most people receive the formal acceptance and believe they have received the deliberate choosing." She had said, "I wanted you to receive the actual deliberate choosing with the specific reasons." I had said, "Yes." She had said, "Yes." The deliberate form was the form. The form was hers to give. The giving was real. I want to say something about the most recent Sunday and about what the Sunday had been in the form the year had arrived at. We had been in the Charleston apartment in the Sunday form. Sebastian had been in the study with the work. I had been in the kitchen with the seagrass data. In the afternoon, he had come to the kitchen and said, "I want to tell you something about the Hazel form." He had said, "I have been thinking about it since June." I had turned. He had said, "The specific seeing form that Hazel gives is the form I wanted to give you and that I have been building the capacity for since we met." He had said, "I had not known I was building the capacity for the specific seeing form." He had said, "I had been in the form of the person who was in the attending and the specific caring and who had not named the form. He had said, "Hazel's Saturday call named the form for me as well as for you." He had been quiet. He had said, "The specific seeing form is the form I want to be in." He had said, "Not the general form, the specific form." He had been quiet. He had said, "Hazel gave me the name for the form I have been trying to be in." I had said, "Yes." He had been quiet. He had said, "Yes." The name had arrived for both of us through Hazel. The naming was good. The Sunday was good. Both of us were in it. I want to say something about the marine ecology research and about what the Hazel call year had given the professional form of the attending. The seagrass meadow ecology had been the form of the professional work for 5 years. The work had been good. The Hazel call year had given me the inside understanding of the indicator species as the below-surface form that tells you the most about the health of the ecosystem. The seagrass is the indicator, and the seagrass is the foundation. Both are true at once. The indicator and the foundation had been the same organism. The 3 things Hazel had observed in me had been the indicators of the foundation form, the specific attending that produced the full receiving, the specific remembering across the months, the specific seeing of the quiet form. All 3 had been the surface expressions of the foundation form. The foundation form was the specific seeing. Hazel had read the surface expressions to understand the foundation form. The marine ecologist reads the surface expressions to understand the seagrass form. Both had been the same reading. The reading was mine. The seagrass and the specific seeing had been the same form in the different registers. Both were real. Both were good. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story connected with something real in your life, write it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you have made the deliberate choosing, the specific reasons choosing, the choosing that saw the specific form of the person and found the specific form to be the form the family needs, I want to say something clearly before you go. The deliberate choosing deserves the giving of the reasons. Most people do not know whether they have received the formal acceptance or the deliberate choosing. Give them the knowing. Give them the 3 specific things. Give them the form of the being known in the specific form. The giving does not require the 93 years. The giving requires the deliberate choosing and the specific reasons and the willingness to give the reasons to the person who deserves to have them. Give the reasons. The reasons are the gift. I want to say something about the specific form of the Thanksgiving receiving of the grandfather's story and about what Hazel had described more fully. She had said, "I want to tell you more about what you were in at the Thanksgiving." She had said, "My husband's name was Walter." She had said, Walter had been telling the same story about the Korean War at Thanksgiving since 1970. She had said, in 1970 the story was new. She had said, by the last Thanksgiving it was 42 years old. She had said, I have been watching the family receive the 42-year-old story for 42 years. She had said, the family's form with the story had evolved from the first time receiving to the managed receiving. She had said, the managed receiving is the form the story takes when the family has received it so many times that the receiving is organized to manage the receiving rather than to be in the receiving. She had said, I want to tell you what the managed receiving looks like from the outside. She had said, the managed receiving has the specific quality of the person who is attending to the story with the part of them that has heard it and who is doing something else with the rest of them. She had been quiet. She had said, you were not in the managed form. She had said, you were in the full form. She had said, I do not know how you were in the full form with a 42-year-old story you were hearing for the first time. She had said, the full form receiving of the new-to-you old story is not the common form. She had said, you were in it. I had said yes. She had said yes. The full form had been mine. The full form was real. I want to say something about the marine ecology concept of the light attenuation and what the light attenuation had given me for understanding the managed receiving form and the full receiving form. In marine ecology, the light attenuation is the reduction of the light intensity as it passes through the water column, the specific form of the diminishing that the light undergoes as it travels from the surface to the bottom, absorbed by the water and the particles and the dissolved organic matter. The light attenuation determines how much light reaches the seagrass at the bottom. The high attenuation means less light reaches the meadow, and the meadow cannot photosynthesize fully. The managed receiving had been the high attenuation form. The story had been absorbed by the layers of the previous hearings, and only the attenuated form of the story had reached the bottom, the listener. The full receiving had been the low attenuation form. The story had traveled through the water column without the absorbing layers and had arrived at the bottom at the full intensity. Hazel had been watching the attenuation for 42 years. She had watched my full receiving as the low attenuation event. The low attenuation receiving had told her something about the form of the recipient. The recipient had the clear water. I want to say something about the photograph album and about the specific form of the making it, and about what I had understood at the time of the making and what I understand now about what I had been doing. I had made the album in the winter between the Christmas and the 91st birthday party, the 6 months of the hearing it secondhand and in the making. I had made it because the hearing it secondhand had produced the specific form of the understanding that the wanting organized form and the having it organized form were separated by the specific work of the organizing, and that the work was available to be done. I had done the work. I had not thought about the doing as a significant form at the time. I had thought about the doing as the available thing. The thing was available to be done, and I had done it. The Hazel call had told me the doing of the available thing was the indicator form. Hazel had been reading the doing of the available thing as the indicator of the below-surface form. The below-surface form had been the specific attending to the specific person's specific form across the months, and the doing of the available thing when the available thing appeared. Both had been the indicator. The indicator had been real. Hazel had read it correctly. I want to say something about what Sebastian had said about the photograph album and about what the album had meant to the family and what Hazel's giving the album a name had meant. He had said, "I want to tell you something about the album from the perspective of the family." He had said, "The album arrived at the 91st birthday party as a gift from you." He had said, "The family had received the album in the gift from the newer family member form." He had said, "The gift from the newer family member form is the form in which the family receives the gift with the warmth and the thank you." He had been quiet. He had said, "The family had not understood what the album was." He had said, "The family had not known about the Christmas conversation." He had said, "The family had not understood. The album was in the exact form Hazel had described wanting." He had been quiet. He had said, "Hazel had understood." He had said, "Hazel had been the only one in the room who understood what the album was." He had said, "Hazel had received it in the full form of what it was." He had been quiet. He had said, "I want to tell you something about what this tells me about the Saturday call." He had said, "Hazel had been carrying the full form understanding of the album for a year and a half." He had said, "The carrying had been part of the choosing and knowing." He had been quiet. He had said, "She saw you when no one else in the room had." I had said, "Yes." He had said, "Yes." The seeing had been hers alone for a year and a half. The seeing had been good. I want to say something about the porch conversation at the first Christmas, and about the specific form of the conversation and what the conversation had been for me at the time. The family had been in the gathering form, the specific quality of the first Christmas in the marriage year, the new in the family form, the specific attending to the forms of the family that the new in the family form produces. Hazel had stepped out to the porch. I had seen the stepping out and had understood the form immediately, the quiet form after the loud form. I had gone to the porch not in the form of the attending to grandmother-in-law form, but in the form of the person who had also been in the loud form and who had found the porch. We had been on the porch together in the form of the two people who had both come to the same place for the same reason. She had said, "I do not like the loud form of the gathering." I had said, "I know." I had said, "I noticed in the first hour that you find the quieter form when the loud form has been going for too long." I had said, "The porch is the form that the gathering needs to have." I had not been performing the sensitivity. I had been in the noticing and giving form. The noticing had been the form. The giving had been the saying. Hazel had received the noticing as the indicator. The indicator had been good. I want to say something about the marine ecology concept of the photosynthetically active radiation, and what the photosynthetically active radiation had given me for understanding the specific seeing form and what it requires. In marine ecology, the photosynthetically active radiation, or PAR, is the specific wavelength range of the light that the seagrass can use for photosynthesis. Not all the light that reaches the bottom is usable, only the specific wavelengths of the PAR. The seagrass absorbs the PAR and produces the organic carbon. The non-PAR light that reaches the bottom is not used. The seagrass has the specific capacity to receive the specific form of the light that it can use. The specific seeing form is the PAR form of the human receiving, the specific capacity to receive the specific form of the person that can be used for the seeing. Not all the information about a person is usable for the seeing. The specific seeing form absorbs the PAR of the person, the specific form that tells you who they are below the surface. Hazel had the PAR absorption, the specific form of the receiving that took in the full receiving at Thanksgiving, the album, the porch. Each had been the PAR form, the specific wavelength that produced the seeing. The seeing was good. I want to say something about what Hazel had told me about the two other people she had chosen deliberately in the family, and about the form of those choosings. She had said, I want to tell you about the two others. She had said, my son's wife was the first. She had said, I chose her 40 years ago in the same deliberate form. She had said, I told her when she had been in the family for 3 years. She had said, I gave her the specific reasons. She had said, the 3 reasons for her choosing were different from the 3 reasons for yours. She had said, the reasons are always specific to the person. She had been quiet. She had said, the second was my daughter's husband. She had said, I chose him 22 years ago. She had said, I told him when he had been in the family for 2 years. She had said, I gave him the specific reasons. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you something about the choosing form and why I give the reasons. She had said, the choosing form without the reasons is the general form of the acceptance. She had said, the choosing form with the specific reasons is the specific form. She had said, the specific form is the form that gives the person the knowing that the choosing was the seeing and not the general welcome. She had said, the specific reasons are the evidence of the seeing. She had said, I want the person to have the evidence. I had said yes. She had said yes. The evidence was the gift. I want to say something about the seagrass research and about a specific moment in June at the research site that had been most in conversation with the Hazel call year. I had been doing the seagrass transplanting work in the North Inlet, the specific form of the restoration ecology work that involves transplanting the seagrass shoots from the healthy donor meadow to the degraded area where the seagrass had been lost. The transplanting required the specific attending to each shoot, the specific form of the root system, the specific depth of the planting, the specific spacing. Each shoot had been planted in the specific form the shoot required. I had been transplanting the seagrass in the June heat with the Hazel call year in the background. Both had been the specific attending to the specific form of the specific organism. The seagrass shoot and the specific person at the Thanksgiving table had both required the specific attending to the specific form. The restoration work and the specific seeing form had been the same form in the different registers. Both had required the attending to the specific rather than the general. The specific form had produced the survival. The survival had been good. I want to say something about what my mother had said when I had called her and told her about the Hazel call. Her name is Adaeze. She is 62 years old. She had answered and I had told her the account. The 93-year-old, the 3 specific things, the deliberate choosing. She had been very quiet for a long time. She had said, I want to tell you something about what the deliberate choosing means. She had said, the deliberate choosing is the form that takes the new person from the outside the family form to the inside the family form. She had said, most families receive the new person in the outside the family form for years before the inside form arrives. She had said, the inside form requires the seeing. She had said, the seeing requires the specific attending. She had said, Hazel saw you. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you something about what the seeing gives. She had said, the seeing gives the person the form of the being known in the family. She had said, the being known in the family is the form that most people spend years trying to achieve. She had said, some never achieve it. She had said, Hazel gave it to you in 2 years. She had been quiet. She had said, the giving in 2 years is the fast form. She had been quiet. She had said, the fast form is the gift. She had said, Hazel gave you the fast form. I had said, yes. She had said, yes. The fast form had been the gift. The gift was good. I want to say something about Sebastian's mother and about what she had said about Hazel's 3 choosings. Her name is Diane. She is 63 years old. She had called me in April 1 month after the Saturday call, after Sebastian had told the family about the Hazel call. She had said, I want to tell you something about my mother and the choosing form. She had said, I have known about the choosing form my whole life. She had said, my mother has been in the choosing form since before I can remember. She had said, the choosing is the form that says, I have seen this person and I have decided they belong in the inner form of the family. She had said, the inner form is different from the family occasion form. She had said, the family occasion form is the form the whole family is in. She had said, the inner form is the form of the people who have been seen in the specific way. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you what the inner form gives. She had said, the inner form is the form in which you are known by the person who has been watching the family for 93 years. She had said, the 93-year view is the longest view. She had said, the longest view produces the most accurate seeing. She had said, my mother's seeing is the most accurate in the family because it has the most years behind it. She had been quiet. She had said, she chose you with the 93-year view. She had been quiet. She had said, the 93-year view sees clearly. I had said, yes. She had said, yes, the view was clear. The seeing was good. I want to say something about a Sunday call with Hazel in July and about what the call had been in the form the months had built. She had called at noon in the form she called, the specific form of the person who picks up the phone in the determined form. She had said, I want to ask you something about what you have done with the choosing since March. I had said, I have been in the form of the person who knows she was chosen deliberately. She had been quiet. She had said, yes. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you something about what the knowing produces over time. She had said, the knowing in March was the first form. She had said, the knowing in July is the settled form. She had said, the settled form is the form in which the knowing has become the background rather than the foreground. She had said, the foreground is the living. She had said, the knowing settled into the background of the living in the months between March and July. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to tell you that the background form is the better form. She had said, the foreground form is the form of the receiving. She had said, the background form is the form of the living with the knowing. She had been quiet. She had said, the living with the knowing is the better form. I had said, yes. She had said yes. The background was better than the foreground. The living was good. I want to say something about the marine ecology concept of the below-ground biomass and what the below-ground biomass had given me for understanding the specific seeing form and what it produces in the person who is seen. In marine ecology, the seagrass below-ground biomass is the specific form of the root and rhizome mass that grows below the sediment surface, the mass that anchors the seagrass to the sediment and that stores the carbon and the nutrients. The below-ground biomass can be twice the above-ground biomass. The seagrass has more structure below than above. The below-ground form is the foundation that the above-ground form depends on. The specific seeing form produces the below-ground biomass in the person being seen. The specific quality of the knowing that you have been seen in the specific form that you are in produces the specific stability that the below-ground biomass produces in the seagrass. The stability is not visible from the surface. The stability is the form that allows the above-ground growth. Hazel's choosing had produced the below-ground biomass in me, the specific stability of the known form. The known form is more stable than the unknown form. The stability was good. The growth above was good. I want to say something about the visit to Savannah and about the specific form of sitting with Hazel in the afternoon and what the afternoon had produced. We had been in the yard in the shade in June. She had asked what the most significant thing she had given me had been. I had said, the form of the being known in the specific form. She had been quiet. She had said, yes. She had said, I want to give you one more thing. She had said, I want to tell you what I have observed in the 2 years beyond the 3 specific things. She had said, I have been watching you in the family form across the 2 years. She had said, I have been watching the specific form you are in with Sebastian. She had been quiet. She had said, I want to give you the specific form I have been watching. She had said, the specific form I have been watching is, you are in the form of the person who allows Sebastian to be in the form he is in. She had been quiet. She had said, that is a specific form. She had said, not everyone in the form of the marriage allows the other person to be in the form they are in. She had said, the form that allows the other person to be in their form is the form that produces the good marriage. She had been quiet. She had said, I have been watching you allow Sebastian to be in his form. She had been quiet. She had said, that is the 4th reason. She had been quiet. She had said, I wanted you to have the 4th reason. I had said, yes. She had said, yes. The 4th reason was good. I want to say something about what the Hazel call had produced in the form of the family relationship and about the specific quality of the change. Before the Saturday call, I had been in the family in the good form, the warmth of the occasions and the regular contact and the form of the person who was in the good form with the family. After the Saturday call, I had been in the family in the good form with the knowing of the choosing in the background. The knowing of the choosing had changed the receiving of the family occasions. I had been at the family occasions with the knowing I was chosen in the background of the occasions. The occasions had been the same occasions. The background had been different. The different background had produced the different receiving of the same occasions. The different receiving was the fuller form. The fuller form was better than the partial form. The partial form had been good. The fuller form was better. The Hazel call had given me the better. The better was the knowing I was chosen in the background of everything. The background was good. The everything was good. Both of us were in it. The family was good. I want to say one last thing about the Saturday call and about what the call had been in the form the year has shown me. Hazel had called because she had decided the telling was more important than waiting for the better occasion. The better occasion had never arrived in the 2 years. The better occasion had not been arriving because the better occasion for the deliberate choosing with specific reasons is not the occasion, it is the decision. She had made the decision on the Saturday morning. The decision had produced the call. The call had been the form of the deciding and doing in the same morning. The deciding and the doing had been the same form in the same morning. The deciding had been the form she had been in for 93 years. The doing had been the specific act of the Saturday. Both had been in the same Saturday morning. The Saturday morning had been good. The 93 years had been good. The choosing had been good. Both of us were in it. The form was good. I want to say something about the most complete thing the Hazel call had given me and about the form the understanding has taken across the year. The most complete thing had been, there is a form in which the person is chosen deliberately with specific reasons, and the chosen person deserves to know they have been chosen in that form, rather than the general welcome form. I had been in the family for 2 years before the Saturday. I had not known whether I had been formally welcomed or deliberately chosen. The 2 years of not knowing had been the form most people spend in the family. The Saturday had told me. The deliberate choosing had happened, and the specific reasons were these 3 things. The knowing had changed the form of the being in the family. The changed form was the being known in the family form. The being known in the family form was better than the being welcomed in the family form. Both were real forms. The being known form was the better form. Hazel had given me the better form. The giving had required only the decision and the call. The decision had taken 2 years of the watching. The call had taken the Saturday morning. The 2 years and the Saturday morning had been good. The form was good. I want to say something about the research in November and about the specific seagrass monitoring data that had been most in conversation with the Hazel call year. I had been at the North Inlet monitoring stations for the fall seagrass measurement, the specific form of the seasonal monitoring that tracks the seagrass density across the year. The November data had been showing the specific pattern. The seagrass density had been at the fall minimum, the lowest of the year, the form the seagrass takes in the low light season. The fall minimum was not the loss, it was the seasonal form. The seagrass was in the minimum form, fully present. The below-ground biomass intact, the structure maintained. The fall minimum had been visible to the trained observer as the form the seagrass was in at this time of year. I had been reading the fall minimum with the Hazel call year in the background. The fall minimum and the general welcome form had been the same form. The below-ground structure was intact. The below-ground knowing was intact. The specific seeing had been occurring. The surface had been in the minimum form. The below-ground had been in the full form. The Hazel call had been the below-ground form arriving at the surface. The surface had received it. The receiving was good. I want to say something about the most recent Sunday with Sebastian and about what the Sunday had been. He had been at the sofa with the reading. I had been at the table with the seagrass data. Near the end of the afternoon he had said, "I want to tell you something about Hazel and about the form she has been in since the March call." I had turned. He had said, "I talked to her in October." He had said, "She told me something about giving you the choosing." He had said, "She said, I gave Adaeze the choosing in March, and I have been watching what the knowing produces in her across the months." He had said, "She told me what she had observed in the months." He had said, "She said, the knowing of the choosing has made her more fully in the family form." He had said, "She said, not the occasion form, the family form." He had said, "She said, the family form is the form in which the person is in the family in the way that the family member is in the family." He had been quiet. He had said, "She said, Adaeze had been in the family member form since March." He had been quiet. He had said, "I want to tell you what she said the difference is." He had said, "She said, the person who has been chosen and who knows it is in the family form." He had said, "The person who has been chosen and who does not know it is still in the guest form." I had said, "Yes." He had been quiet. He had said, "Yes." The family form was the form. The form was good. I want to say something about the marine ecology work and about what the Hazel call year had given the professional form of the attending. The seagrass meadow ecology and the ecosystem health assessment had been the form of the professional work for 5 years. The work had been good. The Hazel call year had given me the inside understanding of the indicator species as the form that the deliberate observer reads to understand the health of the form below. Hazel had been the deliberate observer. The 3 specific things had been the indicator species. The health of the form below had been the specific seeing form. The deliberate observer reads the indicators and makes the assessment. Hazel had read the indicators and made the assessment. The form below was good, the ecosystem was healthy, the choosing was the right form. The professional indicator reading and the Hazel indicator reading had been the same form in the different registers. The professional form and the personal year had been in the same form. Both had been the reading of the indicators to understand the health below. Both had been good. The year had been good in both registers. I want to say something about the most recent call with Hazel and about what the call had been in the form the months had built. She had called on a Sunday at noon in the established Sunday call form. We had been in the call for 30 minutes. She had been in the form she had been in since the March call. The form of the 93-year-old who had given the choosing and who was now in the contact with the person she had chosen. Near the end she had said, "I want to ask you something." I had said, "Ask." She had said, "Are you in the family form now?" I had been quiet. I had said yes. She had been quiet. She had said yes. She had been quiet. She had said, "The March call gave you the family form." I had said yes. She had been quiet. She had said, "Good." She had been quiet. She had said, The family needs the family form and the people who have it. She had said, you have it. She had said, the family is better for the having. She had been quiet. She had said, that is what I wanted to give you. She had been quiet. She had said, I have given it. I had said yes. She had said yes. The giving was complete. The family was good. Both of us were in it. The form was good. I want to say something about the Charleston apartment in the year since the Saturday call and about what the apartment had been. The apartment had been the established form before the Saturday. The two people in the good form, the work and the shared space, the quality of the Charleston afternoon light. The apartment since the Saturday had been the established form with the knowing I was chosen in the background. The knowing had been quiet. The knowing had been in the background. The background form of the knowing was better than the foreground form. The foreground form was the receiving. The background form was the living with the known. The living had been good. The background had been good. The seagrass data and the evening meals and the Sunday mornings and the drives to Savannah had all been in the background form. The background form had been good. The choosing was in the background of everything. The everything was good. Both of us were in it. The form was good. Hazel was good. The choosing was good. The family was good. The year was good. All of it was good. The Saturday was very good. The specific seeing was very good. The seagrass was good. The form was good. The 93 years was good. The three specific things were good. Both of us were in it. The form was very good.